I happened to bump into an R8, an Audi R8 on the streets. And somewhere I saw his Instagram on the car. And we met up and then he was asking like, how are you actually monetizing this? So I told him that I'm not. And I have no idea how to. And then I said, let me help you. I'll pay you to just, try to do a video on my gym. So we did a video like, what do you do for a living? And then it leads to, hey, we're actually going to gym. And he owns like a Muay Thai gym. So I thought like, okay, let's give this a shot now. Yeah. So I got paid 500 for that. And then eventually you
realize that it's actually very cheap, right?
No. I didn't realize that it's cheap. I realized that this could be a viable amount. Because back then when I didn't come from a very good background. Back then, I think earning 2,000 or 3,000 was already enough. That means I need to complete 4 videos for 500, right? Yeah. So I thought that, this could actually be a career. You also know this, that wherever traffic is, right? That's where the money is. On how you would want to stay relevant or people keep speaking about you is basically you're going to be the best attention seeker.
Welcome back to TFC Business Show. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. And today I am very excited to be interviewing a chair.
Tattooing a chair. That's a very, very nice one.
Yeah. Because for the pursuit of personal privacy and, essentially just trying to protect his identity, we have decided to do this interview. So if for all of you that are tuning into the video process, right, don't worry, I did not talk to a chair, right? So,
yeah, you're not that crazy.
I'm not that crazy, right?
Okay.
So actually, Koocester is in studio. I'm very happy. And he is actually on the chair now. It's just that when we do all the editing, he wants to keep his privacy and I respect that, right? So he's an internet sensation, right? Although you don't know him, I think his brand is an internet sensation, especially from a business standpoint. I think they have done really well. So I'm very glad to be in studio with him to just talk a little bit about the story, what's going on in the business. So welcome.
I think you brought up a very, very good point about privacy. I think it's more than that. Because I think one is, people would know that I'm a very, very extroverted person. People would know that I'm
your
a very...
energy is so outward.
Yeah, you know, right? You have spoken to me before at events and everything, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't mind people to get to know me. Except that Koocester is not supposed to be known as me. It's supposed to be known as a brand, as a business that could scale more than just one person, more than just an identity. It's a movement where, it's according to the brand values and stuff. Yeah.
Movement.
It is a movement, bro.
Movement. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about it.
It's more scalable as a movement than one person, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, do you already know about these thoughts right from the very beginning? Because actually, a lot of media businesses, they all struggle with this problem of like unable to scale out of the personality.
You mean social media personalities?
Yeah, social media personalities, right? So, when we first started, it was just me alone. And then I started having other people. It's not so easy to scale beyond, right? Even the NOC guys, I've talked to them, same problem, right? So even SGAG, all of them, as long as they start with a face, with a person, they took a long time to essentially like grow out of this person such that it becomes a brand and then, audience stay active and connected to the brand and not like this individual's face lah, right? So did you already thought about this right from the start or like, and how did that come about?
I know that running a business is eventually putting yourself out of the business. And for you to, I know that it's also impossible for you to be at multiple places at once. Where today I'm very grateful that I have a team in Malaysia, I have a team in Singapore that goes around without me needing to be on set. Yeah, which allows so much more productivity. Yeah, and yeah.
Fair, but is this a retrospective thought? That means like at first you not very clear, you try first.
I just know that because I just know it's impossible to be at multiple places at once.
Were you in the media business previously?
No.
So what were you doing previously? What made you join this thing? The worst business in town.
I think because I was a food delivery rider back then, right? And also I did content creation, right? When I was delivery riding. So, and I wanted to find out what's the most viable business to do back then. Because all of the supercar owners that I interview, most of them were business owners. So it was just to find, what I wanted to filter was interview supercar owners, find out what's the common thing that they do. okay, one, I found out is business. Then what's the most common business that they do that I would just be tapping in to just be at their scale, right? So I couldn't find out. And if I were to do content creation, delivery, and a business, it would be harder because it's three things, right? So eventually I made content creation a business, which I had no idea how to, when I assumed that people like on that point of time post-COVID were so not reachable, right? And there's only a few of them. So you had to learn without guidance and you hit so many walls from there.
A few of them in a sense that there are only a few supercar owners, right? Because
There's
that's the
only
main
a
people
few
that you're
media
interviewing.
business owners.
Okay, yeah, fair. You see, that's why it's a difficult business. So,
that's true. That's
we
true,
will go into the business ideas later, okay? But back on that story of how you started, and doing this content. At what point do you start to think like, okay, this could be something that I do a little bit longer, And what made it viable? There must be some signals,
I think because I find that when I meet someone or when I meet an individual, I learn so much. I learn so many things from their perspectives and their business or even their way of doing things where you don't get that at a normal business. And I'm pretty sure you interview so many people also, right?
Yeah.
It's not always the same people, right?
Yeah. Fair. Just to, narrow down on that, right? But at some point, the truth of the matter is the money must come in, right? Somebody must have said, hey, I will pay you to do some content, and then that becomes a viable business to, kind of feed the family, right? I think that's the baseline thought. I mean, for me, when I first started the podcast, I think it was quite similar. It was just very curious, and I was generally quite annoyed with what was being peddled on the internet. So I worked damn hard to try to understand what's going on and then like put out long form discussions around personal finance, right? That's kind of how I started. And the only time I started thinking that this could be a business was when sponsors had inbound. They came to me and then I was like, oh, really? You mean that you're willing to pay me to do this? And the first project was such a pain because when sponsors come in, right, they have all sorts of other requirements that I didn't know, back then as an amateur. So I had to learn. So I would fathom a guess that it's also because sponsors started coming for you. That's why you think like, oh, okay, this could be a thing. Is that a fair statement?
I had no idea how to monetize. I had zero idea to monetize, bro.
But you must have monetized before you made it a thing, right?
Yeah. So I happened to bump into an R8, an Audi R8 on the streets. And I think somewhere I saw his Instagram on the car and I didn't manage to catch up to him. I think I added him on Instagram and we met up and then he was asking like, how are you actually monetizing this? So I told him that I'm not and I have no idea how to. And then I said, let me help you. I'll pay you to just, try to do a video on my gym. So we did a video like, what do you do for a living? And then it leads to, hey, we're actually going to gym. And he owns like a Muay Thai gym. So I thought like, okay, let's give this a shot now. Yeah. So I got paid 500 for that. And then eventually you
realize that it's actually very cheap, right?
No. I didn't realize that it's cheap. I realized that this could be a viable amount because back then when I didn't come from a very good background. Like I don't come from a very good family.
Control yourself, huh? That one is like running for election already.
Yeah. No. I'm not running for elections.
Okay, you can go with that story. I'm not saying no to the story, please.
In Singapore's context, 5,000 is a median income, right? But back then, I think earning 2,000 or 3,000 was already enough. That means I need to complete 4 videos for 500, right? Yeah. So I thought that this could actually be a career. So that was how it became a career then before business.
Fair. So when that kind of rolled up, it became viable to then quit your other things and just focus on this, right?
I think it was to make it sustainable, to work on it where this would sustain me throughout and to be more scalable.
Okay. So then after knowing this, right, because I know the formula, right? Your formula is there's a car, it will wow people, then you catch the person, then you ask them what they do, and then after that, the sales come in after that, right? So, I run a gym, then you follow them to the gym, or I do something, and then they talk about whatever that they're doing, and then I can kind of tell what is a sponsored content and what is not. But because I'm in some ways a trained professional, as compared to the other people that just kind of like consumers are, right, day to day. So I can kind of tell that's the formula, right?
I think a lot of people mistook not paid ads for paid ads also, because it just become, it became in a way that everything is branding for them.
I know. And that's the beauty of the content. I gotta respect that content. And I would say other people start copying you, right? So
I'm a product of a copy, bro.
Yeah. So but that's true. Yeah, it already works in the US, right? So there were already a lot of those things. So great. Essentially that content format works. I think people know you for that. And you said that, okay, so now you discover the monetization method to this, right? Then what's the next steps? How do you go about then?
From there, it goes on to how much value you put on the table. And you would probably determine that with the demand and price point, So maybe if you, let's say 500, that's considered too low maybe. And there would be more $500 orders, right? So you would tend to increase because you also can't take so much workload, right? And then eventually you would hit a mark where maybe it is too high, maybe it's not too high. Yeah. So when you hit that mark, I think it's okay when you have the number of projects that you can cope with. But then there will be clients that couldn't cope with that amount, but you don't want to lose the lead. So that comes about substantial, like I created sub pages where this is supposedly to accommodate to that because it's a smaller page, right? And then on top of that also, it's because of Koocester has always known to be featuring supercars, GCBs, very luxurious properties, right? It wouldn't make sense if I were to feature a HDB in Koocester. And I still want them to be featured, because my page has been entirely about people. And rich people do still live in HDB or even in condos, right? So I would want them to be featured as well to tell their story, which then leads to Koocester Homes, Koocester Business.
Yeah, I saw those,
all the
other
right?
side page. Yeah. Fair. I understand. So how much are you charging at the main page now?
It entirely depends on what the objective is.
Yeah.
I think we charge about 6 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 to 7,000. And that's, to the amount of following and what we have, I think it's very affordable in Singaporean rates.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah. I can agree with that. Okay, so before we get there, right, essentially there's a $500 when you first start all the way until here, at 7,000. But from the $500 to start to scale, like you rightfully said, you had to essentially get so much work that you cannot tahan anymore. Then you raise the price, then maybe you grow a team from there. That's kind of the thought process, right? But in the start, how do you start getting all these jobs? Because the first guy is the Audi R8 guy that runs a gym, right? He told you about it and then you did it, it works. And how do you get the next few deals?
You also know this, that whatever traffic is, right, that's where the money is. On how you would want to stay relevant or people keep speaking about you is basically you're going to be the best attention seeker.
Yeah. So your first, 100 deals all came from inbound?
Yeah. We rarely pitched unless there's something that I need for the company. Let's say if it's office desk or if it's something that it is of value to both, then it will be a barter trade.
Okay. So it's just an inbound through your socials. That's it.
Right. We rarely do outbound.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
I think this goes in a very different format because you can only accept X amount of clients. You would have a limit because you would have X number of episodes, right? We could curate so many videos where it could be a bundle of maybe 10 to 12 videos from just one client. It could also be one video. Yeah. So that depends entirely on brand association and how they build their credibility.
Fair. No, and I think like what you said, right? Even in today's price, which is 7,000 a video, relative to the view count that you're getting, organically on the social media traffic, actually it's very cheap because even if you convert that to the amount of money that client needs to boost to get that type of traffic, it's a discount. Right. So I think that's kind of the difference, in terms of the media game. Whereas for me, I actually I'm quite aware that I don't leave a lot of money on the table for the client.
Okay, do you have any idea what's the most returns that my one client made from a single video?
No idea.
Well, do you have your returns and everything?
No, I don't really track it. Yeah.
So we I mean it's like a service, right? Yeah. So I tend to sometimes get feedbacks and everything. So last time I don't used to, even sometimes it happens that creators sometimes the video does bad and then you just try. So back then I didn't know much about service recovery, so you can just like, oh, it's okay, just move on, right? So nowadays if a video does bad, we probably offer maybe we could run ads for it. Maybe they could use your client's database for it. we would see a way that we could help. So gathering this before that was asking for testimonials. So he did a video on a yacht. We did a video on a yacht. He spent about 6,000. Back then the rates was 6,000. 2005 or 7,000, I forgot. But he get in a total of 300,000 back. And then there was like another one where they sell sheeps. They spent like about 8,000 on that. They got back 200,000, which is actually quite insane, right?
Yeah, it is. And that's why the format works, right? And that's why I say that I don't leave a lot of money on the table for my client, right? Because I charge a premium, right? Relative. But and I think that's the discussion of the business models in media, right? There are different type. There are media channels that are, very much in the very atas apex, right? When client go to them, they are never thinking about views. They are thinking about associations. I want to put my brand.
Yeah, actually, that's what
next to
people come
this.
to me for.
Yeah.
When people, like when you run a content creation thing, right? Whether it's a company or an individual, people would come to you for awareness, but people usually come to me for association sometimes.
Can you elaborate? What made you say that?
Because they want to build credibility, and sometimes when they have the numbers and everything, and they want to reach the amount where people can trust them, that's where they associate themselves with a few brands, where one of the brands would be me.
Yeah, fair. And I would say that is kind of where
I think it will be you
that's
also,
where we
right?
play, right? That's why, Temasek, like all these, like the ministry, the big banks, they pay us to do the podcast, not hoping for a return. You know what I mean, right? They come and I think that's a discussion for the different business model in media, right? Where there's the bunch of people that essentially do the media products to activate and convert, right? So like, maybe they do an affiliate model or they are paid, a little bit, but the kind of returns that they give to the customer is a lot more, so there's that vertical, which is a very difficult vertical. I think live streaming is probably the apex of the vertical at this point in time, where really it's just about sell, right?
Like
so
TikTok shop live stream.
TikTok shop live stream, not that, right? It's very respectable from my point of view, because I think it's very tiring and difficult, So to me, that's the hardest part of the media business.
Okay, do you think it's harder to do TikTok shop or live streaming like I Show Speed? Because they're not selling anything,
From a production standpoint, live show speed is harder.
Right.
Yes, from a production standpoint.
They have to technically they get donations in the beginning first, ma.
Yeah.
TikTok shop, you already have value, ma.
Yeah, fair. No, but I think and that is the format of the content, right? So format of the content we can discuss a little bit later. But I think where am I is with the business model, right? There's a bunch of people that are just out to convert, right? This is the bunch. And then there's the other bunch of people that are out to be associated with, right? And I think that's kind of where I sit. You are quite amazingly sitting in both, right? Like people work with you to be associated, but they unknowingly end up converting, a good amount.
The most
good amount of
important thing
client.
is conversion.
Yeah. I think the market has changed, but maybe you can share a little bit your read on the existing media market.
I think back then people don't confuse marketing and sales, and nowadays people would get them together as one, which totally makes sense. And it makes sense in the business point of view where you are to track what you get back, right? Whatever you spend, there will be ROI for it, which I think totally makes sense. And how would you track so-called awareness? It's also by convergence in a way, right? Where people purchase more, or at least significantly, there will be convergence. So we are trying to make it that our videos would tailor to more conversions than awareness nowadays.
How does that look like from a content creation
we have no
standpoint?
idea, man. We are studying our own past videos. You know that I'm not kidding you that people actually studied my videos before. Like they have studied on how I managed to make it so engaging, which I didn't think it was a big deal. So I was late to studying my own videos, where nowadays I have my team to figure out what makes a video do well. And we want to put this all to an AI to be able to generate it for our next clients.
Fair.
And it's not just clients, We do free videos all the time. We have to, because these are what you're an attention seeker basically. So
I'm
you
not
have to get.
but yeah.
Come on, bro. More traffic is more money for you, right?
I know. Yes.
So,
from that point of view, yes. Not the nomenclature. I refuse to accept that I'm a attention seeker. But I understand what you mean.
So when we want this to also be given to anyone that is on our page, because I feel like that's the most value.
Okay. So what is the tips and how do you create a highly engaging video? Like you probably have a framework of some sort already after studying it.
We have, I think the whole video lies on a mix of performance marketing and also a bunch of curiosity.
Okay. Can you elaborate? Let's go beyond the keywords.
I don't know, it's the same as how you retain an audience.
Yeah.
How would you retain this audience
I'm trying to retain my audience by probing you.
Yeah, so that's the same way.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So what is the Koocester formula?
I know that there will be probing questions and then there will be pain point questions where why it makes sense for this person to solve this problem, or maybe the certain objective is to hit maybe awareness, brand association, or it could be conversions. Everything leads up to conversions, right? Might as well we just aim everything for conversions. So what would they be trying to solve?
So what you're saying is you got to look at the audience in some sense, right? What is
Their
what is their-
audience. We have to know their audience, not mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what are their dream clients, dream, customers, yeah. So it's a whole complex thing where I didn't know that it would be so serious on just a video, which essentially when you see, right, each video is actually an asset on the internet, right? Because there's return on ad spend. When this video, okay, let's say we start from let's say 3,000 to 7,000, right? You post that video online. That is an asset where you can reuse, because confirm the organic views, every video you hit, confirm won't hit even 1 million views. There are 5 million Singaporeans, which is probably your ideal customer, right? Because your business is in Singapore. But the video only reached, let's say, a good video maybe 1 million. There's 4 million more to hit. How are you supposed to hit that, right? The only way is to boost on ads, right? Is to run ads, right? So whenever you pump money into ads, let's say 2,000 or 3,000, you can calculate the amount of what the returns are. And you can time it in a way that what your team is capable of handling it, right? So instead of putting that amount to spend on another creator, why not just utilize the same video until it runs out, where it hits a plateau, where you don't, I feel like that's the way that people fail to look at videos are an asset nowadays.
Nice. I like that.
That's what we found out when we study our own videos.
And I think that's the mark of becoming a media business. You're not a content creator anymore. You're not just like, for the fun of it, we'll create some content or hopefully can make some money. You start to have a good understanding of the customer profile. What are they looking for? How does this whole mechanics work? And how do you then do this whole thing, right? So I think that is interesting. Maybe help me understand your process of discovering the pain point with your customers. Like, let's say today, one of your client comes to you and then they say they want to do a piece of video, what will you do with them? How does that look like?
So my team would have studied the video, and then these are the forms that we would have given. Is the way that before this interview, right? I asked you what if I fill up the form? Right. So what if every customer would have to fill up a form that relates back to their business on what they need, their marketing objectives, and then followed up by what kind of videos they were doing, right? So let's say maybe we have a client that does, let's say ID. They have their marketing objectives, they fill up that. But they can't possibly fill up about the homes, because the homeowner would need to fill up on what is the attractive things that they like, their personal stories, right? So how do we combine both of these together and come up with a set of questions that is very probing, and then also at the end would solve a very painful pain point, which then have a perfect solution for it. So I was just asking based on my curiosity. And my team would also have to study these videos, put it into a variation, and then test this variation throughout the next videos that we are doing. Which would have the most, quote-unquote, conversions would be the one that is templated to most clients as an SOP base,
Okay, that is cool. So let's move the conversation further then. So there's a product market fit already, right? Essentially, in business terms, you guys have kind of figured out this way of doing the videos get the traction, gets the conversion. Now you're trying to refine that process to become a formula, but you already kind of aga-aga, this kind of works.
But it's insane, right? Imagine having that formula that is money making.
It's true, but the formula will change.
Yeah, it would change.
Yeah,
so
because
that's
the
what I'm
formula
scared
in
of.
itself is dynamic. Like when I first started doing podcasts, there were no other podcasts, right? CNA, MediaCorp, SPH were all like, they laugh at it. I've talked to people about it.
Really?
They laugh at it. It's like, why waste time? Their listen through is horrible in the early days, right? But they hired a bunch of people. They got serious about it, and I'm very sure someone, one of their producers went through my whole list of guests to just
Really?
cast off them on their new show. I'm very sure because I look at everyone and say, hey, I thought all of you have been on my show, right? But what I think I'm not blaming them, but the idea here is dynamic because
Are they going to be
whatever-
blurred out?
no
Like,
lah.
oh,
Don't
really?
Don't need anything. We can talk. Right. I mean, like, what you gonna do? Send me lawyer letter?
Oh my
So, yeah,
God.
don't worry. Okay. I mean, and to be fair, now I'm copying back. Like I'm learning what they are doing, and whatever that is working, I also want to learn. So there is that dynamic element to the media business. Whatever worked for a while, well and good. But it will plateau. People will get bored of this format. The thing will after maybe a few years, right? Like macam this doesn't work anymore. Then you got to update, right? You got to change. So I think that formularizing process is great, but I think
it has to be a variable formula.
Yeah, it has to keep updating, essentially, right? So formula is formula, but you got to keep updating over time, right? So well and good. But besides that, I think in order to scale up to where you are, you now have quite a big team, right? Working with you, Can you kind of elaborate that process of scaling up, as a business, hiring people and all that?
I love to produce. I love to meet new people, right? And when the channel grow and grow, right? They grew and grew, and I can't possibly edit because I have to produce. I don't have time. So I decided to hire someone per project when eventually this person became a full-timer. And when the channel grew and grew, you couldn't attend to clients, where then came a PA. And it grew and grew until where one video editor couldn't cope with the amount of videos. Then you would need another editor. Then eventually it grew from there.
Awesome. So it's quite organic and natural in that sense, right? So it is really solving a business problem, and then you throw more people at it, right? Hiring more and more people alongside it. Okay, fair. So I think, and to be fair, I think that's probably the nicest way for a business to grow. Because there's a demand, then you hire to kind of meet the demand, right? So how big is your team at this point in time?
It's not big, man.
It's not big.
It's not big. It's only 12.
12. Okay, 12 is not too bad. It's healthy.
12?
Okay.
In other countries, it would be so little, man.
Yeah. But no choice. Singaporeans are expensive.
No, they're not Singaporeans also.
Yeah. Okay, fair. So you have a big enough Malaysian team?
No, actually, there's only one Malaysian.
Okay. And the rest?
3 of them are Singaporeans, 1 Malaysians, and the rest are Indonesians.
Nice. Okay, great. I want to ask a few things, right? One is, okay, so as you grow the team, right, I think for a lot of smaller business owners, you start to have this problem where can the original hires kind of grow along with you? You know what I mean?
I think there are some frictions.
Yeah. So how do you kind of manage that?
Because last time it's not disciplined. You would complete it per projects as and when you want, OT ma. That cannot happen in a corporate structure where there's turnaround time, right? And there's tasks to be done every single day, right? So when we put this into structure where we used to have, I think, 10 editors or even more, everyone was not the most effective way because we didn't track the videos and time needed. So everyone was at their own time. When we came up with a structure on what are videos to edit and how long it should take, the ones that have poor time management would eventually choose to leave. Yeah. So that is not so much of a friction. I think when we have some backlog of the videos where we have to take over from them, that caused a bit of a friction. The more of a friction when the first editor that I ever hired was the one that is supposed to manage all 9 editors. To train this person to be on a management level, there will be so much friction where there will be a lot more arguments, which is perfectly healthy. And it's meant to be because it's meant to polish each other. It's meant to question me back than someone who just take in the job and then just, cope the struggles. I would prefer someone who's very proactive and questioning me all the time. Yeah. So we come to an agreement where he would enjoy what he does while also completing what needs to be done. Yeah.
So is he still around?
Yeah, he's still around.
But he's not managing everybody anymore.
He's still managing.
Okay.
He just don't like to be confronted.
Okay.
Which you always need to confront. What's the turnaround time, right?
Yeah. Fair. Okay. So in that sense, you managed to kind of keep most of the original team?
The original team, I think 2 have left. My PA left to pursue masters. I got another admin because I don't believe in having a personal assistant anymore. ChatGPT exists, man. Yeah. So I think because ChatGPT is instant replies, man. Yeah, right. So administrative things to handle all the leads, inbound leads and everything. And the other member left because I think better opportunities. Yeah, that was like 2 years ago, I think. So yeah.
Okay, fair. So, why I ask, because I think it's a perennial problem for a lot of small companies that essentially grow, quite quickly lah, right? So when you first started, you don't have a lot of budgets. You can only hire, for lack of a better way to put it, quote unquote, certain type of people. And over time you want to professionalize the team, right? Like when I first started, there were a lot of part-timers. There were a lot of volunteers on the team, right? There were a lot of people like I'm very appreciative of this. Like a lot of my earlier volunteers were listeners. They wanted the platform.
really?
Yeah, they wanted the platform to succeed. I did a few shout out and they came and they supported to the best of their abilities, right? So that's amazing. But at some point, you want to professionalize it. You have certain structures that are in place. You need systems, and when that happens, right? Truth of the matter is, you cannot run like that anymore, right? So you then have you essentially build a different team to take it to the next level. Some people will grow with you, and then some people will just, essentially, get fizzled out or be asked to leave lah. But if not, you can't. If not, you can't grow, right? Is that a fair thought process?
I think it's a very thought process. Yeah, we used to have so many part-timers that I feel like they are dedicated to one task of what needs to be done. Then eventually we hired one specific person to handle all these tasks, which is much cheaper.
Better, you feel?
Yeah, better.
Okay. At what point do you start to realize about this?
I think when it's easier to liaise with one person than three people.
Okay. So it's not because a part-timer mess up or something.
They do mess up also. I feel like I'm quite lenient when someone messes up. Because I think it's I hit so many walls.
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
And I think it's okay for them to hit walls too.
But I think at some point when you try to professionalize, hitting walls become a bigger and bigger no. You know what I mean? Like when we first start anything, just try lah.
Something that is repetitive and you hit the same wall cannot.
Cannot, right? So I think that's all the part of quote unquote professionalizing the business, right? And growing the team. And it's actually very dirty lah, not so neat and organized, and like there's a lot of transitionary elements. So then where is the business now for you, and what's the next phase of Koocester?
I think a lot of startups try so many things, which is okay. If you sell a product and it works, people will expand to more and more products, whether it works or not. I feel like you should dive into what they are very good, what they are good at, and then dive very deep into it from good to great. Like maybe an example, it will be me. Like we used to do social media management. We used to do video content and everything. So there's more services that we would want to expand into. But then I forgot that the one thing that I'm good at is producing great videos, which then comes about of me studying my own videos again on what actually makes it into a conversion, how you could tailor it to always hit that.
Fair. Just a side story, that after about 2-3 years in doing the podcast, I actually got very bored of the topics. And then at some point it became like, I cannot tahan this thing because there's a lot of things to, like, there's a lot of recordings, and I have many other things to run as a business owner. So I tried retiring myself, and that retirement worked. So that's great. Eventually I accept that, okay, in this format that I do, I have to be on set. Right, like people tune in for me. It's like Stephen Chia lah. CNA to have Stephen Chia cannot tahan already. Like Stephen Chia have to be there, right? So it is what it is. So going deeper into that content piece, I have arranged my schedules in a way that I can be on set. So that I will have to essentially offload other things, right? That's on my plate. That's why I brought in the BD guy, all that. So it's a little bit of a dance, but eventually I think as a media business, you still have to live by the content itself, right? So that's going deeper. I understand what you mean. But other than that, there are probably other things that you're trying to grow and develop, right? In the team, from a business level or from an organizational future, rather than just content alone. Anything you want to share?
I think data is damn powerful, bro. I think a lot of media, I think on how I would run the media business is using data, on how we could go deeper on who these people are. So let's say the normal demographics that you get is maybe 18 to 24, 25 to 34. These are numbers on a mass category, which let's say Singaporeans, Malaysians are good. But what if you could know that this specific group of people would be interested in X product? Is it better to hit that for conversions?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Would probably lead to more sales, even better when you understand their spending behavior. So how could you extract that with the videos that I do, right? So we are trying to figure on how we could get their data on a more extensive level, record it down, and then see in a way where we can curate it for them, where we could provide it to them based on what we do, right? Let's say homes, cars, or these businesses, business products, softwares, how we could match them together.
Okay. But that's also the reason why a lot of media business dying, right? Because Meta and Google has all the data sets of the individual. So
I think they are supposed to amplify us.
Yeah. So when you're running targeted, like marketing campaigns, it works very well. That's why a lot of media businesses are struggling. I'm interested to see how you're going to then harness your audience data. How much are they going to tell you, and how is that going to inform your business, right? So I think that would be an interesting future. Maybe tell me a little bit more about the expansion overseas, or like your Malaysia thing. Before you do Indonesia, I saw you've done quite a bunch of videos in Malaysia. So what was the thought process? Why were you there and all that? When I told my guys that I'm going to interview you, they're like, "Oh, I know him." I was like, why would you know him?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because a big bunch of my team are in Malaysia, right? So they were like, "Oh yeah, very good." I was like, "Why?" So it means you're quite famous in Malaysia, and I believe based on the following size, you must have most media platform or creators after the 200,000-300,000 space. If they want to grow any further, very likely it's an international audience already.
You hit a plateau in Singapore very fast.
Very quickly. Yeah. Like we are plateauing in Singapore, so we're trying to. But that's a different story. Okay, yeah. So tell me a little bit more about this Malaysia. How are you running it there? How does it look like? You probably have clients there. How is it different from Singapore?
We try to actually focus more on Singaporeans because of going deeper into it. But going to Malaysia,
so never at a point in time you tried to expand to Malaysia?
I did. It's more towards learning from Malaysian entrepreneurs. I think they give so much more invaluable sharings than Singaporeans, which I assume that, I think we had this conversation before. I would assume that it's about how small the market is in Singapore. Yeah.
We talked about it. Yeah.
How competitive it would be, right? And I'm not a believer of not sharing or gatekeeping certain information. Even in this, creators will probably learn on how I would structure my videos and probably would implement, which is perfectly fine. We always get better. And Malaysian entrepreneurs are very, very willing to share their secrets on what made them really successful and how they would share around their factories, how they would share around like their processes, what differentiates them from others in the business, and what are the key people, what they do, their habits and everything, all to you as a stranger.
No lah, not to you as a stranger lah, to you as Koocester lah.
No.
It's different lah, come on, right? Someone go to the factory door and say, yeah.
Tell me why Singaporeans are not willing to share with me.
I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of factories around, I think a lot of the businesses here are midstream, right? So whereas a lot of businesses in terms of factories, this kind of like distribution type of business, in Malaysia, there's a lot of end customer because the pool is bigger. So they sell locally. They have an incentive to build their brand. Here, there's a lot of brands that nobody needs to know. They are midstream process, type of business where there's a bigger buyer after that. They do this part. Then once they're done, they go to the next guy. So there's no real need. So I think from that point, ultimately, I think it's a need base, right? But I know what you mean by Malaysians are very, very willing to share lah. But I just don't have a deduction. Is it because of a nationality type of situation? But
it's not just
that's besides the point.
Like Indonesia also. They're even more willing to share and spend a day with you. Yeah, they would just cancel their meetings and everything to just spend a day with you, show you around. And these are just developing the relationships. Or I don't know, maybe they just love Singapore lah. Because a lot of them do.
Yeah, fair. But then, are you trying to deepen your business there? Like what is the plans?
I feel that when things work in Singapore, it will work everywhere else.
You sure?
I feel so.
Okay.
Because you imagine, in Singapore, it's so limited by population. You only get X number of traffic. Maybe you get 10 in Singapore, you can get 20 in Malaysia because there's more reach to more people. What if you run ads in their countries? the CPM is so much cheaper, right?
Fair. I mean, I agree. And that's why finance media is one of the only few that's doing decently well in Singapore.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yeah. Because it's not about the head count, it's about how much money you have in your pocket. You know what I mean? Because the products that they are selling, because it's back to customer profile, right? So not about audience, the customers when they come, if they're targeting you as an individual, let's say FMCG products like snacks or gym membership or whatever. So how many gym membership can you sell? There's only so many Singaporeans, right? But if I sell you as a person, you join my gym, right? You can only do one gym membership. Like, alamak, why will you need 3, right? Or that's on the same gym. But if I'm working with you on a finance product, your upside is endless. You can keep buying more and more. So the per ticket head count becomes very high, from the value to the end, to the customer, lah, right? So from that point of view, there's a reason why all these credit cards are giving like $600, $800 per affiliate, like per sale. Yeah, because that is the kind of value that the customer will bring to the business, right? So ultimately, from a media standpoint, I think to kind of like center back on that. But you know what I mean, right? That's the idea is depends on the business category. Then you kind of you have to work around the situation lah. So I kind of understand what you're saying in Indonesia. Okay, good. I think that's quite extensive. So definitely have quite a good sharing. Is there any last things you want to share for people that are looking at taking this media game a bit more seriously, and making it to a viable business?
I think if it's for every other business is to keep track of things as early as possible, all this data and everything, because it would benefit you more than you would think in the future. For media business itself, you would have to be the best attention seeker in your niche.
There's no other way around it,
There's
right?
no other way. That's media, what?
Yeah.
You have to get the most traffic, ma.
Quick tip for everybody. Most of the budgets go to the first and the second media house.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yeah, most of the budgets.
Would it be media house or would it be marketing agencies?
The marketing agency also have to dish it out to the biggest boys.
Yeah, that's true.
So even if there's an interim, most of the budgets will go to the big boys, and then the remaining people are just kind of like scouring around on what is available. So I sadly have to agree with the fact that
Yes, of
you
course,
gotta
bro.
be the attention seeker lah. Although it does limit the type of content that you can do, because like let's say 60 minutes podcast. How many people is going to tune into a 60-minute podcast?
I think people are driving
Right?
or like subconsciously.
The competition is very high because the requirements, the ask from the audience is very high.
We thought of doing a podcast actually.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, don't. Because I can't even set up the road system, bro.
Yeah, don't. Stay away. Okay, great. Thank you for your time. I mean, I don't think I need to ask the people to connect with you. You're already everywhere.
No, please connect with me at Koocester.
From a business standpoint, where can they connect with you? Like besides consuming your content.
Oh, we just launched. So you know how to be the best attention seeker, right? Instead of TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, we are now on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Fair. Connect at Koocester.com. Okay. Thank you. I wish you well, and I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. I think he's one of the few fast-growing and very successful media houses that born out of a new media channel, right?
The chair.
Yeah.
The chair.
Yeah, the chair, right? You will never get to see the face. Maybe in a meet and greet someday. I don't know.
Meet and greet. No.
If I organize a panel live, will you come? No recording.
Actually,
if I organize a panel,
we can actually. Yeah.
So if I organize a live panel with the audience,
only for you. Banks tried to get like institutions tried to get me, but yeah, I think it's more towards paid.
Okay. But no recording, right?
No
because
recording.
or even if there's recording, ultimately it still needs to be a chair.
It still needs to be a chair. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So Koocester said it. If we run a panel live, you'll get to see him. But as of now, you see the beautiful green chair.
Yeah.
So that's all for today. If you like today's episode, go to thefinancialcoconut.com to put in your email address so that we can stay connected and, kind of run out of the algorithm to reach you directly, because sometimes, algos do what they do to update you on the latest happenings and our next event. So yeah, with that, I will see you in the next episode. Meanwhile, bye-bye.